Welcome to the first of our virtual events celebrating the resilient, impressive, and truly one-of-a-kind Lawrenceville Class of 2020. We couldn't be more proud of your courage this spring. Together, we have navigated uncharted territory, overcome obstacles, and relied upon our Lawrenceville friendships and the trust we have in each other to stay remarkably connected through it all. In just a few minutes, you will attain the official status of Lawrenceville alumni. The Alumni Association is lucky to have you. Yes, you are joining a body that boasts a developer of the first personal computer, a Nobel laureate in economics, multiple Pulitzer Prize winners, 6 governors, and the president of Honduras, and the father of modern environmentalism. But they never sat around a virtual Harkness table or attended a virtual school meeting. The class of 2020 is in a class by yourselves. This pinning ceremony is bittersweet. It's a wonderful, momentous occasion as you join the august community of worldwide alumni. Of course, it saddens me that we can't welcome you in person and that your new alumni status will be attained in the context of these unfortunate events. Someday, it'll be a story to tell. Right now, I share your disappointment, and I repeat my commitment to do all that I can to recreate some version of this moment on campus when it is safe to do so. Now, it is my great pleasure to turn this over to Ian Rice, President of the Lawrenceville Alumni Association, who has his own words of welcome for you.
Thank you, Headmaster Murray, and good morning, Class of 2020. I'm Ian Rice, President of the Lawrenceville Alumni Association, and a proud member of the Class of 1995. I know this wasn't the senior spring that you all envisioned, but I am pleased to be able to bring you one of the important parts of Alumni Weekend, the 5th Form pinning ceremony. Each year, as a rite of passage, we welcome you, the 5th Form, into the ranks of alumni. So on behalf of everyone who wishes that they could be there with you today on campus, we salute you. Go Big Red and go Class of 2020. And now as president, it's my honor to officially induct each of you into the Lawrenceville Alumni Association. You're joining a club that has been around since shortly after the school was founded in 1810. We number about 14,000 people worldwide, and the association is governed by a constitution and bylaws that have enabled it to sustain itself and provide valuable counsel to generations of Lawrenceville leadership. As you will find, being a Laurentian is a lifelong experience. Each member of the Class of 2020 has received a red and black rosette that signifies membership in the Lawrenceville Alumni Association. The rosette itself symbolizes prosperity and good fortune. The red petals indicate strength. The colors together symbolize responsible citizenship. All Laurentians everywhere do indeed wish you, the Class of 2020, prosperity, good fortune, and the strength to succeed on your respective paths. You can ask to have an alumnus or alumna or a faculty member pin you the next time you're on campus, which we all hope is very soon. Welcome to the Alumni Association, and very best of luck. Stay safe, Class of 2020. And now, a few words from the President of the great Class of 2020, Tay Gachegua. Tay?
Thank you, Mr. Rice. I'm pleased to announce that the Lawrenceville Class of 2020 are ever so proud to make Mathematics Master Dr. Tim Brown, History Master Dr. Erik Chaput, Director of Teaching, Learning and External Partnerships, Ms. Dana Koistra, and Assistant Dean of Students, Mrs. Emily Kossoff, honorary members of our class, with all of the rights and privileges thereof. On behalf of the 5th Form, I'd like to say thank you for all that you've done for us. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce none other than Dr. Erik Chaput, selected by the Class of 2020 as our faculty speaker. Dr. Chaput joined Lawrenceville in 2013. In addition to his role as History Master and running the US Honors History curriculum, Dr. Chaput serves as co-chair of the interdisciplinary program and runs the Senior Capstone course with fellow History Master Ms. Cara Hyson. Dr. Chaput leads the Big Red Track and Field program and serves as head of the girls' track teams. He has been named Trenton Times Track and Field Coach of the Year, not once, but twice. Since 2018, under his leadership, Big Red Track athletes in the winter and spring have broken 18 school records. And most recently, the girls' winter track team was named Team of the Year by the Trenton Times. He has also been the Griswold Assistant Housemaster for 4 years. In 2011, Dr. Chaput received his doctorate in early American history from the Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs at Syracuse University. In 2013, the University Press of Kansas published Dr. Chaput's biography of Thomas Wilson Dorr, and he is the co-editor of a collection of Dorr's letters. He has published numerous articles in academic journals and is a regular contributor to the Providence Journal. Dr. Chaput is also a member of the teaching faculty in the School of Continuing Education at Providence College. Please join me in welcoming our very own Dr. Erik Chaput.
Thank you, Tay, for that very kind introduction. Good morning, everyone. It is a great honor to be asked by the class of 2020 to be its faculty speaker on this important day. I want to offer a hearty congratulations, of course, to the seniors, but also to the parents of these gifted young people. Your love has sustained them over the years, and this day belongs to you as well. In these past few months, I have been reminded, as I am sure you have too, of the importance of days with family. Teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom, reads an ancient psalm. The COVID-19 pandemic has been a great and unexpected trial, impacting all aspects of our daily lives, shattering a sense of innocence. But the bonds of this great community are strong. I was asked recently by a friend teaching at the college level why our virtual experience was working. The answer is simple: the bonds of our community, more than the strengths of our internet connections, have allowed us to remain a community. Please reflect on the strength you have derived from relationships built on campus and take time to nourish them. Reflect on the fragility of life and cherish those around you. And please celebrate those, especially the many members of your families who are on the front lines of this crisis at this very moment. And realize an important fact about times of peril that often go unnoticed. As the National Institutes of Health documented after Hurricane Katrina, while it is assumed social bonds are tenuous at best and that major natural disasters trigger mass disruptions, disorder, and social breakdown, there were many more reports of altruism and camaraderie among the affected population. Those nameless, unremembered acts of kindness and of love, which were said makes up that best portion of a good man's life, are happening daily in our communities. The better angels of our nature are indeed on display. But the pain from this current crisis is very real. I have been reminded in recent weeks of a sermon delivered by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. at the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta that I sometimes use in class. All too often, our mental image of King is frozen in 1963 on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial as he delivered his famous I Have a Dream speech. We study little of King's life after the dream speech, and we often forget altogether King's pastoral work. Reflecting on coping with life's difficult moments with hundreds of his congregants, King proclaimed that Good Friday, a reference to pain and sorrow, is as much a fact of life as Easter, failure as much a fact of life as success, disappointment is as much a fact of life as fulfillment. Say that this is my grief and I must bear it. Look at it hard enough and say, how can I transform this liability into an asset? As a coach, I often turn to sports for hope and inspiration in my life to look for instances when a perceived liability becomes an asset. One such moment comes in the 2018 Boston Marathon, a race that offered real hope for the first time in over 30 years that an American woman could win. 3 Americans stood on the starting line that day with a chance to win. Desiree Linden, a former cross-country and track star at Arizona State and a 2-time Olympian, was a favorite. She had nearly won the race in 2011, coming up 2 seconds short after an incredible sprint to the finish. But her times made her an underdog still in 2018. She had neither the fluid stride nor the tall frame of American Shalane Flanagan, a Massachusetts native and 2-time NCAA cross-country champion and race favorite coming off her win in the New York City Marathon that fall. The weather was far from ideal in 2018. 30 degrees, heavy rain, and 35-mile-an-hour winds along the 26.2-mile trek from Hopkinton to Boston. The infamous Heartbreak Hill was the least of the runner's worries that day. 6 miles in, Linden told Flanagan that she might drop out. Linden said, "If you need something, let me know. Block the wind, adjust the pace, maybe, let me know." When Flanagan was forced to stop to use the bathroom around mile 13, Linden slowed down, waited, looked over her shoulder, and then helped to set the pace so they could catch up to the rest of the pack. Such a move is nearly unheard of in professional running. It was clear Linden wasn't running for herself anymore. She didn't think she had a shot. So she gave herself to the bigger cause. She wanted an American woman on top of that podium, and if it wasn't going to be her, she was going to do all she could to make sure her countrywoman had a shot. When you work together, you never know what's going to happen, Lyndon recalled later. Helping her helped me. And I kind of got my legs back from there. Lyndon, the woman who 6 miles in decided it wasn't her day, and so she would make it someone else's, found herself in first place as she hit Fenway Park and made the turn for the finish. She was as shocked as anybody. Lyndon ran the final 10 meters, pumping her fist in the air. The long drought was over. Flanagan finished 7th. Today was bigger than one person, Lyndon said after the race. It was really all of us pushing each other, battling the elements. As you can imagine, a lot of analysis went into evaluating Lyndon's stunning win. Medical experts noted that our brains release endorphins, dopamine, and serotonin when we go out of our way to help someone. All of these likely propelled Lyndon to her grand finish. Putting endorphins aside for a moment, Lyndon's actions that stormy April day 2 years ago in Boston are in line with what the theologian Thomas Aquinas defined as magnanimity, that stretching forth of the soul to do great things. A magnanimous person is not interested in honors for honor's sake. Such an obsession would amount to vainglory. Rather, he or she is interested in doing what is right. From this, greatness is achieved, and happiness too. In teaching and coaching here at Lawrenceville, I have experienced those moments in my life, how giving that time in the classroom and on the track is most joyful when it is done out of a sense of selflessness. Magnanimous acts are often contagious. I saw such acts on the indoor track this year. A senior veteran put herself harder and harder in practice than I thought was possible for a high school athlete. She truly felt that her level of preparation for weekend competitions could mean the difference for the team coming out on top or not. And it often did. And the younger athletes followed suit, stepping out of their comfort zones and taking on tough assignments for the team. Together, we rise. Class of 2020, you laid claim to Lawrenceville the moment you stepped on campus. But as I've realized over the years, as I work with so many of you in different settings, you had an eye on something bigger, a legacy to leave, lessons to impart to faculty and staff, and indeed to each other. With tremendous grit and a touch of grace, you have left a mark on this campus that will not be forgotten. It goes without saying that we are living in challenging times right now. The global health crisis is exacerbating significant fault lines in our democracy, as many members of the senior class are studying right now in the capstone course. Ignorance, hatred, and mistrust can be as deadly as any virus. It is easier to retreat into our own bubbles, especially within our extensive social media feeds and networks, surrounded by people who have similar experiences and share our political outlook. In this setting, we never challenge our assumptions, but we cannot seek asylum from our present difficulties. Sadly, though, this is nothing new in American history. As John F. Kennedy noted in 1962, Americans often subject all facts to a prefabricated set of interpretations. We enjoy the comfort of opinion without the discomfort of thought. At the end of his presidency in 1981, Jimmy Carter warned of a disturbing factor in American political life that could distort our purposes. Carter reminded Americans that the national interest is not always the sum of all of our single or special interests. We are all Americans together, and we must not forget that the common good is our common interest and our individual responsibility. To be a citizen is not to be a constant participant in some type of partisan warfare. Citizens must acknowledge that one's own interests are only part of a broader set of interests. The common good and the common interest are best distilled through education. The ex-slave turned abolitionist orator Frederick Douglass argued that without education, man lives within the narrow, dark, and grimy walls of ignorance. He is a poor prisoner without hope. Education, on the other hand, means emancipation. It means light and liberty. It means the uplifting of the soul into the glorious light of truth, the light only by which men can be free. Inspiration for Douglass often came through honest debate and inquiry. At its core, Harkness is a learning process that is predicated on students helping each other, a constant display of magnanimity, of striving to help one another. It is above all else an ethic. As my friend and colleague English Master Pierre Koister has argued, Harkness has led to your personal and ethical development, along with preparation for civic life. Harkness has taught you about the complexity of human affairs, to see clearly many sides of an issue, and the important realization that few things work out the way historical actors intended. We may not always know where our actions will take us when we decide to give up our own chance at winning to pull another to victory, when we decide to quiet our own thinking to really listen to that opinion from the other side of the table. But history tells us that those decisions, when made with conviction, are the marks of a life well lived. Let me end with a prayer of sorts. Let us turn back to Dr. King. In February 1968, 2 months before he was killed, Martin Luther King delivered one of his most memorable sermons at the Ebenezer Baptist Church. In the long sermon, King used the metaphor of a drum major and a marching band. He warned, we all want to be important, to surpass others, to achieve distinction, to lead the parade. If you want to say that I was a drum major, maintained King, say that I was a drum major for justice. Say that I was a drum major for peace. I was a drum major for righteousness. I just want to lead a committed life. May you all go forth and be drum majors who strive to lead a committed life, focusing on our shared humanity and advocating for principles of common decency and justice. Thank you for your time this morning. May God bless you and keep you safe.